Well, the debate over illegal immigration and whether U.S. taxpayers owe illegal immigrants rights and services usually reserved for citizens will continue in 2020. Several new laws are going to go into effect on both coasts at midnight. California is going to give everyone in the state access to health care regardless of immigration status. And New York and New Jersey are going to be issuing driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. Joining us now is acting former ICE Director Tom Homan. Great to see you, Tom. So what kind of impact do you think these laws are going to have on law enforcement?
Well, look, my concern is they're normalizing bad behavior. They're normalizing illegal behavior. I mean, getting a driver's license is supposed to be a privilege. In my op-ed, I said that the left said, well, this is a win for the immigrant community. No, it's not. It's a win for the illegal immigrant community because legal immigrants could already get a driver's license. And I've said, look, when I first became ICE Director 2 years ago, I said this, and I took a lot of hate for it, but it's truth. If you choose to enter this country illegally in violation of federal law, you're not supposed to be comfortable. You're supposed to be looking over your shoulder. We can't reward you with giving you privileges. If I speed down the highway 100 miles an hour, I'm worried I'm getting a ticket. If I lie on my taxes, I'm worried I'm getting audited. When you enter this country illegally in violation of the law, you're supposed to be uncomfortable. We're not supposed to reward that.
Tom, it's Jonathan Honig. Thank you for being with us, and Happy New Year. It was reported this afternoon in Axios and other places that the Trump winery has actually fired 7 undocumented workers. You mentioned rewarding, quote-unquote, bad behavior. Does it surprise you that, given all that he's talked about with illegal immigrants, that there's undocumented people working at Trump's winery?
Well, look, I did worksite enforcement operations for 3 decades. Many times employers don't know they're illegal because they present fraudulent documents. And a lot of the Social Security cards and driver's license from different states, they look real, but they're not. It's hard for an expert to tell, which is getting back to driver's licenses. That's why DMV employees in New York sued, because they don't know what an El Salvadorian birth certificate looks like. They don't know what a Guatemalan or Mexican matriculate card looks like. So we don't even know who these people are that come in and get these driver's licenses.
Kevin?
Hey, Tom, so I guess the biggest question here is what are there any benefits, or is there anything that can be positive that can come from this, whether it's helping to track these people? Because it's really, really hard to see the upside in this because we are rewarding bad behavior.
What I would do if I was ICE, well, first of all, DOJ needs to sue New York because I think this law is a violation of Title VIII, where it says you can't create, no jurisdiction create some program or policy that you prevent employees from sharing immigration information. And New York law says you can't share this information with ICE. So I think DOJ needs to sue. Now, if let's say they don't beat the driver's license, and ICE needs access to that database, and we'll use the addresses to go look for them. And we'll just use that as a data mine. But DOJ needs to sue. They need to take the driver's licenses away. Again, we don't know who these people are. And look, I read in the newspaper article today, well, it's going to help them get jobs. They're not supposed to work. They're in the country illegally. So there's nothing good about this law. Nothing.
Go ahead.
Hi, Tom. This is John Burnett. If I was someone in a foreign country and I heard that you're giving away driver's licenses, I have free health care. You know what? I'd be trying to make my way on foot, land, boat, any way, whatever resources I can use to get here, I would actually try to take advantage of it. So it's going to put a burden on law enforcement, but it's also going to put a burden on our social safety net. When you look at New York and California, we're experiencing a homeless crisis. This is going to actually put a burden on the housing. It's going to put a burden on our social programs like health care and Social Security, things of that nature. So what do you propose in terms of our reaction, in terms of the electorate? How do we actually get the message across that there's a social cost here?
Well, I think the administration is pushing that out now. I think you're right, and you're exactly right. With all the Democratic people that want, the Democrats that want to run for president, get rid of ICE. We support sanctuary cities. Shut down all immigration detention. Free health care. Do they really think that's going to solve the immigration crisis? That's going to bring more illegal immigration, which is going to cost more money. Look, and as you made a great point. Social services are already strapped. We got schools overcrowded. English as a second language. They're holding U.S. citizen English-speaking children back. We got trauma centers across the country shutting down. We got social services they're bankrupt. And, you know, and just the health care alone, they said it's going to cost about $30 trillion. That's more than double what our national deficit is now. And I said in another show, and I took a lot of heat for it, this country will collapse. And it will. We cannot take care of the rest of the world. Who's going to pay for this?
Tom, it seems as though in California, I think they've been for a couple of years now, maybe 3 or 4 years, issuing driver's licenses to people there illegally. And that has raised concerns about voter fraud because there's a very simple route between applying for a driver's license and getting on the voter registration rolls. Have you any data or have you seen evidence that that is exactly what has transpired in California?
I haven't in California, but you're right on my op-ed. I talk about this is going to lead to voter fraud. Back when I was an agent back in Dallas 15 years ago, we had a case. We had a university in Dallas that had their own zip code, and we had multiple, I mean hundreds of people voting fraudulently with use of driver's licenses, fake driver's licenses. And that's what concerns me. When we start giving people legitimate government identification, that's going to lead to voter fraud. That's going to lead to welfare fraud. That's going to lead to all kinds of fraud. That's why I say it again. If you're in this country illegally, we can't normalize that. We need to, they have to be uncomfortable. They have to be looking over the shoulder. Because if there's no consequence and no deterrence to violating our laws, and you come here and get a gift and more enticements, why would they stop coming? We'll never solve our border crisis.
And as my dad used to say, a driver's license is not a right, it's a privilege. And these people have done nothing to deserve a privilege like that if they're here illegally. Tom, great to see you. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.